NFL football is finally back, which means it's time to sit down and tell you what I think of this year's Madden. My name is James, and I started this channel simply because I love video games. If that sounds like you, please subscribe to my channel so that you can see more videos just like this one. I play Madden every single year to get ready for the football season. Every single year, I enjoy picking up the newest Madden and getting to just play through the season as my favorite team, taking them to the Super Bowl, and, just pretending that that's also going to happen in real life. Every single year, I only play one season. I play as the Cowboys every single year. I don't mess with any of the player stats or any of the rosters. For hardcore Madden fans, I probably play the game as boring as possible. I enjoyed this year's Madden just as much as all of the others. I played about 15 to 20 hours of the game, and in that time I was able to play an entire season. I replayed a few games, and I took my team all the way to the Super Bowl. With that out of the way, let's get started with the positives. Biggest positive for me is probably that this is the same Madden. Not a ton has changed. There's little tweaks here and there, but largely the game is the same. I do also like that you, as always, have a variety of different ways that you can play the game. If you want to play in franchise mode and really just take on the role of head coach, you can negotiate with players, you can make trades, you can draw up plays, you can do all this stuff, you can run training camps, and you can do all that stuff as the head coach and never actually play a snap of football. Alternatively, if the only thing that you want to do is what happens on the field, you have that option too. You've got the option to only play offense or only play defense or do a mix of the two. All of that is up to you, which it seems like the game is very malleable, which is really nothing new for Madden. I want to say that in all 6 of the Madden games that I've played, you've had all of those options. Another positive that I feel like I should bring up is that the performance on Xbox Series X was great. On the performance mode, you get a pretty much locked 60 frames per second, and I didn't really notice any stuttering or anything, but that's not really my thing. Also, the graphics while you're in-game look absolutely incredible. It looks just like you're watching football on TV, and then in the cutscenes, the players' helmets and their uniforms and everything look so good. When it does cut to players over on the sideline, they don't really look that great, but it doesn't really matter to me what the players on the sideline look like because I'm much more interested in the players on field with the helmets on. The game is also not without its quirks, which means it's time to move on to the negative. First negative for me is that when I was playing in franchise, the option to play key moments, I felt like they did a very bad job of choosing key moments. It would simulate for a little bit, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, this is a big moment. If you don't stop this play, you're gonna lose. And it's like, I'm on defense, and it's like 1st and goal on the 1 yard line with like 2 minutes left in the game. And it's like, well, I'm not going to be able to prevent him from scoring. Like, why didn't you call on me earlier? Or alternatively, on offense, there'd be like 3 minutes left in a game, and it would be like, hey, you need to drive down the field and win the game. Have fun. It's 4th and 20. Why did it get to 4th and 20? Why didn't you guys call me in earlier? Maybe like the simulations were bad or something. The play key moments option was a lot worse than it was in previous years. Also, they severely changed up the kicking, and kicking was impossible. I was constantly even missing like extra points, and it didn't even help for me to have the game simulate missing extra points, which I was playing as the Cowboys. The Cowboys have probably one of the best kickers in the NFL, but even when I would put it on autopilot for the kicking of the field goals, I feel like they would miss about 1/3 of the time, and the Cowboys kicker is just much better than that. And so I didn't really like that either. And then the last big one that I feel like I should bring up is injuries. And I know that you can change like the frequency and the severity of injuries and the settings. However, I don't really like to mess with all that stuff. I much prefer that the game is all like ready to go when I start it up. And I just felt like my players were just constantly getting injured. Injuries alone aren't that big of an issue, but it also seemed like when you had one player that was injured, it seemed like it kind of sandbagged the rest of your team. In one of my early games, CD Lamb did get injured. And so CD Lamb comes out of the game, but then all of a sudden, nobody on my team can catch anything. That I'm throwing these perfect passes, and they're jumping up to catch them, and it's hitting them like right in the hands, and they're just not catching it. It seemed like the game didn't really know how to make me feel like I was missing a key receiver, and so in turn, what it did was just make all of my receivers pretty bad, which I found that to be very frustrating. Alternatively, the exact same thing happened with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott got injured, and Cooper Rush went in, and Cooper Rush did noticeably move a little bit slower, but kind of the same thing, that I would make these passes and they would hit the receivers, but it's like, oh, he's not as good of a quarterback, which means the receiver didn't catch it because his throws aren't as good. And it's like, but like, if his throws aren't as good, like, show me on screen that they're not as good in a way that's different than just players not being able to catch. Even with that stuff there I mentioned there at the end, I still did have a really great time playing this game. I'll probably play Madden again next year. I don't care if it changes. It doesn't need to change. I use it strictly as a mechanism to get hyped for football, which I've done. That's all I have to say about Madden 2025. Guys, in the comment section, please tell me how dumb you think I am for buying the same game every single year. And until next time, the best way to keep up with me is on Twitter and on Instagram at James_Solar. Thanks, guys.